Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Auburn Live Show, recruiting edition today, also known as the Shriveled Pod. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, senior recruiting editor for Auburn Live on 3. And if you're not a member of that site, you should be. We've got a special going on right now, 50% off. It's ridiculous. It's a steal. They're going to come put you in jail if you don't get it. 50% off. What's that make it? About less than $5 a month, less than $50 a year. And it's a good deal. You got all the stuff that Cole Pinkston, our recruiting analyst, gives, as well as I do some stuff every once in a while myself. Got a great show for you today. Today is National Signing Day. You're listening to it Thursday, but we're recording on Wednesday, so bear with us on that. Today is National Signing Day. Not a lot going on for Auburn today, and I've got two big-time dudes in here to help me explain why. First off, we got senior recruiting analyst Cole Pinkston. Cole, how the hell are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
How's that little baby?
Oh, he's doing good, man. He's
Yeah?
doing good.
How old is he?
Pick him up a little while. He's coming up on 6 months.
Woo.
Yeah.
Have
Fun times.
gotten to sleep through the night yet?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You put Miss Coach is on the late night duties.
We take turns. We are a partnership. I try to make sure we're a good teamwork on that. So
such a cliche answer, Cole. Spoken like a true coach.
I'm a former coach, man. That's how we communicate. And she doesn't like it sometimes, but hey, that's how we have to go about it.
Put you on the bench. Hey, and joining us today, as he did last time, we love to have him on the show. You guys know him as J-Head. Today, I'm going to call him A-Head.
Hey, I like it.
Which is better than A-Hole.
Pretty much. Pretty much. It's an upgrade from that for sure, brother.
Hey, message board insider, and not just an insider, A-Head, but, man, I love just reading your stuff because you bring so much insights to so many different topics, man. So we love to always have you here, man. You're always invited. And I know the subscribers love it too, man. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, brother. Love being on. And of course, congratulations to Cole coming up on that 6-month mark there. You're about to get some of your life back, man. I promise you. So
I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate it.
I bet you are, man. I bet you are. You and Miss Coach will probably appreciate that. But you guys ready to talk about, I guess, a little bit of National Signing Day, lack thereof, direction of the program?
Yes. We'll start with signing day. We knew that it was either going to be a small signing day or a void signing day. Auburn was going to be very selective with the signing day. They signed 17 in December. We knew they weren't targeting a lot of guys. We knew that their focus was on 3 guys, and Trevante Citizen, the running back from Louisiana, who Auburn had been recruiting since long ago. Then we had a new edge target, Jack Pyburn, pop up from down in Jacksonville. And then Jalen Farmer, who was such a quiet guy as recruitment. There just wasn't a lot of intel out there. He was committed to Florida since September, but Auburn managed to get him back on campus for an official visit and really tried to sway him there. But it was either going to be as many of those 3 as they could get, and not anybody else. We know now that Auburn has gone 0 for 3 with those guys. And I really felt like, and I think we all did, that Jack Pyburn was the best shot of any of those 3. And I feel like Auburn was in it to win it with him. I think Auburn was the team to beat as of a week ago. I think Brian Harsin, Burt Watts, Schmedding, Christian Robinson all went for an in-home visit with Jack Pyburn. It was just Auburn and Miami at the time, and Auburn left that visit feeling very good. Of course, the next day, Florida gets into the mix. He's going on an official visit that next weekend to Florida. Grew up a fan of Florida, and that really changed things for his recruitment. J-Head, what do you think about that? Is that kind of how you saw it?
That's exactly how I saw it, Jeffrey. And of course, I think there were varying levels of information that came back on Jalen Farmer, probably because there's some ambiguity that surrounded his recruitment due to he's so quiet. And it's hard to get a read on exactly what it is that he was thinking. Will Friend had done a good job trying to cultivate a relationship there. Had made several trips out to his school, had really kind of connected with him. But I think some of the unassuredness around who the offensive coordinator was going to be, the direction of are they going to be what they were last year? Is it going to be different? I think there were just some questions there that he wanted answered that Auburn couldn't exactly provide answers to right now. That steered that recruitment for him to stay with Florida. Obviously, Alabama got in the mix late for him. Kentucky fell off when their offensive line coach, Eric Wolford, actually moved from Kentucky to Alabama. So I think there was some hope there from Auburn's side. It just didn't play itself out. And then with Trevante Citizen, obviously, he was a surprise to everybody today.
Wow.
I don't think there's anybody in this discussion or any national analyst that had him pegged to go to Miami. It was a complete surprise. In fact, I thought it was us up until last week. And then you kind of started to hear, well, maybe we're not as in good a position as we thought we were. Maybe he's leaning Florida, maybe LSU, and then obviously the surprise today with Miami. But you're right, Jay Lee. We have had a scaled down board, and I think Cole's done a fantastic job of encapsulating this, but had a scaled down board from the very beginning. We were only going to take prospects that we thought gave us the chance to truly impact the program and enhance the talent level. They weren't going to reach. They weren't going to grab for somebody just to get a body or a number, because I think they feel very comfortable in the fact that they're going to be able to get what they need from the portal at a later date. Now, feeling that way and actually accomplishing it are two totally different things. So having a plan and executing a plan, but they do have a plan for how they see things, the type of player they plan to attract and the guys that they plan to pursue. And I do feel like they're going to be aggressive in doing that. So,
Cole, I know you kept an eye on the offensive line, and to reemphasize what J-Head just said, in that Auburn wasn't reaching in this second signing day. You saw Inez Cooper, the Pleasant Grove offensive tackle, end up at Miami. And then Curtis Piegler from Demopolis ended up at Missouri. So you're going, well, man, if they're good enough to play at those two schools, why not Auburn? We're a school that really needs offensive line. But it goes back to, hey, Missouri and Miami might have spots to take chances on these kids. Auburn doesn't. I feel like Auburn said, man, we've got a couple of those guys on the roster right now. We don't need any more just bodies. We need guys who can contribute. Cole, what did you see from the offensive line recruiting, not taking Inez Cooper, not making a move with Piegler, and moving forward on the offensive line?
Well, I think it goes back to even a guy like Malik Agbo, who probably Auburn could have had him if they wanted him. I think that was the way we felt about it after he visited and things were going
right.
And we thought Auburn was going to push, but they didn't. Don't know why exactly. Like I said today on the boards, I don't know why they make every move they make. I don't. I mean, I don't think anybody but Harsin and his staff do. That's just how they operate. You got two types of coaches out there. You got those that are all big on selling, the appearance of the program and how things are going. Then you got those that operate and do things how they do things, and they don't care what it, they're going to do it the way they've always done it, the way that wins for them, and they're not going to change anything about it. And I think that's the way Harsin and his staff are going to be. And, it's not always the popular thing, but that's how they go about things. And with the offensive line, they're not going to add extra bodies that they don't think would be able to play there. So I'm not necessarily saying they don't think Curtis Piegler was good enough, or they don't, think Inez Cooper was good enough. Obviously Miami and Missouri do, like you said, but they just don't see a need to reach for those guys. And I'm not going to sit here and say that that's wrong or right, but that's the way they're going to do it. I know that for sure.
Yeah. You said it better than me, Miko. And some coaches at Auburn that really liked Curtis Piegler, liked what he could do. But in the end, man, it's all about Brian Harsin and whether he sees this kid as being a need, a fit for the culture, for the program. And when it came down to it, he just didn't.
Yeah, and Jeffrey, I think too, I've heard different things that certain people on staff like this guy, but others don't. And I really don't think they're going to take anybody unless it's unanimous. That seems to be what it is. Which that should make you. I mean, for me, the way I look at things, it makes me feel pretty good about the 17 guys they took a chance on, because they did make it through that tough evaluation process. They looked at these guys and said, I want this guy in my program. and they went after him. And we were talking, and like J-Head Allen was saying just now about, you know, the coaching changes and things going on that weren't really helping Auburn with Jalen Farmer and Pyburn and things like that. Well, back to the early signing period, Auburn benefited from the LSU coaching change.
Very much.
They benefited from other coaching changes. Look, I mean, at some point, you think the kids would go, okay, coaches are changing at a really alarming rate here. Let me pick the school I like. You know, maybe that'll happen eventually. That's why I go back to Eston Harris. I love the way when he was when we interviewed him and he said, I like Auburn, man. That's why I'm here. I don't care about coaching changes. I like Auburn.
Yeah.
You know, that was cool to me. There's not many guys that think that way. And it seems like there's so many coaching changes and it's inevitable. You might want to start thinking that way, you know, but that's the way it is right now.
I think that's that 10,000 foot view that somebody like you that's been in the coaching profession can have. I think it's hard when you're a kid and you've developed a relationship with this certain coach and they've sold you on the way they plan to develop you and coach you and get you to the next level. But you're right, Cole. You hope that at some point the kid's mature enough to be able to pick the situation that's best for him. It's just unfortunate it doesn't play out that way more often.
That's right. That's right. And look, it's difficult when the coaches are selling you everything. I mean, everything. They sell everything. It's not the school selling you, it's the coach.
Right.
So it's tough.
They're the doorstep to the university. They're the ones that's opening that door for you and developing and cultivating that relationship. But speaking of offensive line, I found it interesting, and I think you guys have touched on this. I know that the overall perception right now is that Auburn desperately needs offensive line help. And I'm not saying that we don't need bodies to a degree, but it's not as urgent or as big of an emergency, I think, as some people would like to see.
Absolutely.
We have 14 guys on the roster in the OL. You typically want to be, I think, somewhere between 16 to 18. That's kind of the threshold, I think, where most coaches, maybe 15 to 18 is where they feel comfortable so that you have a legitimate 3D. We're not far off from that. So if you're able to add 2 quality bodies from the portal later on down the line, you're really no worse for the wear. Now, it may hurt you moving forward kind of for the long term because where we're missing players, there's kind of gaps there. You've got 7 or 8, I think, seniors on this roster. So that means you're going to have to take a really, really big class next year. But if you can find some mid-tier guys that aren't necessarily – I mean, you want them to push your starters, but you don't necessarily need them to be ready to compete next year. But you do need them ready to be ready for 2023. That's where you've got to have guys on the field. And I think they'll be selective and they'll attack the guys that they think in the portal that can really have that chance to step on the field and start for them in 2023. I think that's what you'll see them kind of do.
You know, I think that's why Auburn struggled earlier for the spring semester and getting those offensive line out of the transfer portal is everybody's coming back. You don't have that immediate spot open to sell these guys. And it was difficult. And Auburn, you know, we saw that with the results. Moving forward, you know, you've got 17 signees, high school guys. You've got 5 transfers already enrolled in the spring semester. I saw you post this morning, J-Head, that the same number as I was told, which is 10 right now.
Yep.
10 spots remaining right now for Auburn to fill before the fall, and they can do that. I think the goal here is to get 7 or 8 of those guys in May to go through summer, and then have a couple of spots left over for anything that might pop up at the end of the summer. And I'm not talking about using those spots on guys who can help immediately. It'll be very difficult to come in fall camp and be able to help immediately. But then you're looking at 2023, filling some of those holes for the future. We have talked about Noah Steen from Vanderbilt, transfer offensive lineman. We've talked about Hunter Narzad from Cornell, offensive lineman. Both of those guys are May. Auburn has had Narzad in for an official visit. And I don't think Steen and J-Head, you were saying before the show, Auburn kind of lost its in with him, right? He's from Vanderbilt.
So. Yeah, my understanding was Jake Mason was the in. And for those that don't understand portal recruiting, it is the speed dating of recruiting, man. I mean, you got to have in. Either you have to have a prior relationship, or you need to be a school that you're kind of transferring back to get closer to home, or there's an immediate playing time. So there's got to be a catch there to get you interested right away because things move at such a rapid pace. transfers aren't necessarily interested in, you know what I mean, the whole show that a lot of these kids go through the first time around in high school. They're looking for bare bones facts and who can they trust.
Right.
Because it is a cutthroat business in the transfer pool, and you're trying to secure a spot, and they're looking for somebody that they have, like I said, either developed that relationship with, or, hey, I'm getting closer to home to be by my family, something of that nature. But with Steen, Mason was that bridge. And I do think that Will Friend has gotten in the door there, and he's established a relationship to a degree. I don't think that he's been out to visit him yet. And it's my understanding that his brother, where he landed, who is a high school recruit, I think he just signed with Virginia today, and that Tony Elliott, the new Virginia head coach, has done a good job establishing a relationship with that family. So I probably tend to believe that's where he's going to land.
Right, Noah.
Unfortunately, I think it's trending that direction.
You know what?
I think you mean Tyler.
Is it Tyler?
Tyler
Steen.
Yeah.
Noah. I think I said, why don't y'all correct me? But you know what?
He's the young brother.
Exactly what J-Head just said is exactly why I love to cover transfer portal recruitment so much. It's so much easier because it's so much more transparent than these high school kids, man.
Yes.
There's so much behind the scenes going on with these high school kids that you don't really know what to believe. You know where you know that Trevante Citizen had the best relationship with Cadillac Williams and the longest relationship with Cadillac Williams. You know, he visited in the summer. In the summer, then he came back again for a multi-day visit in January. So if you're following the relationships and if you're following the visits, man, you got to like Auburn, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But man, there was so much going on behind the scenes with him, and of all places that he ends up, Miami.
Right.
It makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, Florida was like LSU, and even Auburn was like, I wouldn't have said Miami. That would have been number 4. And I even put, I think it was Monday or Tuesday when we went national story. I was like, Miami's out. Like this is, and his coach says he's going out of state, so it's got to be Auburn or LSU. Auburn or Florida at this point.
Right. And listen, there's not anybody better than Chad Simmons on getting a feel for where prospects are going, especially as it starts to wind down towards the end of their recruitment. And I don't think he had any clue that kid was headed to Miami. Zero.
Nope. It was nobody, not even Sam Spiegelman, who just joined On 3, who covers Louisiana and Texas, who used to for Rivals, and is awesome over there. He came in and he did have it that he was going out of state, but nobody had Miami.
No.
At least
nobody had Miami.
The multiple hats or I have a shirt on under this shirt.
Oh, God bless him. Listen, the whole hat thing and the throwing it off and taking off, that all returned today. Did y'all notice that?
Oh yeah. That's what
it was awful. The whole fake out, the okey dokes. Oh my God. I thought those were a thing of the past, man.
You know what's surprising and shocking today? When somebody just goes to the place that you think they're going.
Yeah.
No,
that's shocking.
Yeah,
like, whoa, he's actually going to the place we thought.
Jack Pyburn was that, right?
Yeah.
But
he was the only one. I had Farmer predicted to go to Alabama until I found out this morning that they stopped pushing on him. I had Trevante Citizen going to LSU, even though Spiegelman had said he's going out of state. I thought, nah.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Nah,
LSU was working behind the scenes too, big time.
Yeah, Uncle Frank's gonna pull this one off at the last second. Nah, he's landing with LSU, and true to word, he went to Miami, and Mario Cristobal picked up a really good running back.
I tell you, Mario put together a pretty decent class there, right? From what I saw today.
Yes.
I think he's up to 14th maybe, and they were
top 15,
bottom of the barrel before he took that job. Manny Diaz had that whole train had run off the tracks, crashed, and rolled over.
With Miami, Miami's one of those schools that's going to get some good talent regardless too, but you add a guy like Mario Cristobal, and now, he'll be tearing up South Florida.
Yeah, he's taking scalps on the trail, Cole. You're right, man. It's recruiting in the Southeast just got that much more difficult over this offseason. With the amount of coaching transition that we had with Billy Napier coming into Florida, who's obviously a fantastic recruiter, Mario Cristobal into Miami, Brian Kelly and the staff that he brought into LSU. Obviously, that they had some issues today, but I think over the long term, you'll see them do extremely well there. It is legitimately big boy recruiting. And if you don't want to be in the thick of it, then you just don't need to be in the ACC or the SEC right now. That's for sure.
And look at A&M coming all the way into Florida and getting Shamar Stewart.
That's and you know what? That's a big point. What you're saying, J-Head, on what I wanted to make clear, just personally for me.
Sure.
You know, I'm not trying to put a fact out there. I want it to be my opinion. I want it to be on me that I respect Harsin for taking the Auburn job in the midst of all this. I mean, it's hard for me not to, because really nobody looked at that job and said, that's a good job for me. You know, everybody was going, I don't want to have to recruit against all them guys out there. You know, kind of stuck
and not be from here and have zero ties.
Yeah, man. He took a bet on himself, and I can't help but respect that. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to take Auburn to a national championship next year or anything like that. You know, don't get me wrong there. I'm just saying that's respectful to me. Anybody that would take that job right now is tough. It's tough.
I agree. The landscape of the Southeast right now is ridiculous, Colin. You're right. To gamble on yourself in that way and say, you know what, I think I can take this job and I can win and I can be competitive and I can win championships. In the midst of, like you said, Alabama's just won a national championship. Georgia just got their first since 1980. The whole landscape has changed with competitive recruiting. Obviously, Jimbo has established A&M as a program now that you have to respect. I'm not a huge fan of Jimbo, but it is, you know what I mean? He's definitely elevated that program as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
It's just, and then obviously with the transition of the transfer portal and NIL, you have all of these different moving parts and how difficult it is, not just to be coaching here, but to be a college coach, period. But to make that leap of faith, and probably it helps to have that guaranteed money that he's got on his contract to make that chance, to take that chance, but you're still taking a chance on yourself because this is your career. If you don't make it work at Auburn, what's the next big time job you're going to get?
Sure. He could have sat there at Boise and kept, you know, piling in the 10-win seasons in a conference that he had owned, you know, so
definitely.
That's all I'm saying too.
Well, I think we all can agree that he's got a system now that we're starting to understand, and he's not veering from it. He is going to evaluate the shit. He is going to vet the shit out of these kids.
That's right.
And go through this process before he even offers, and then before taking them. Now, will that have to change? Will he have to adjust? Who knows? It's too early to say, right? I mean, all us keyboard quarterbacks can tell him, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You're speaking power to truth right there, Jay Lee, because there are some keyboard quarterbacks out there. What I would say is I don't think Brian Harsin is going to change. I honestly don't.
I don't either.
He'll evolve to a degree, but I think he just is who he is. And this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment to a degree. He's almost tone deaf to optics. He doesn't care. Okay.
Yeah.
It's about the ball. It's about putting the people around him that he thinks can execute his vision and his plan for how he sees Auburn. And everything else to him is just white noise. Does not care. That's who he is right now. And he's looking for guys in recruits that are unfazed by what's, the peripheral noise around Auburn and are just focused on his vision and being able to execute what it is that he wants to accomplish on the field.
I'm trying to think what recruit it was, and I just quoted him, and it might have been Cole too, but he was talking about the culture that he is building. He hasn't gotten there yet, but he's working on it, and he's impressed with what Harsin's done so far. Those are the guys that Brian Harsin's looking for.
Yeah,
those are the guys. And I'm with Cole now, like him or not. I've been signed out because you're Cole. Bullshit. Like him or not, I don't know if that. I just got a message. Like him or not, you got to respect this crap out of him for what he's doing, and he's staying true to who he is. That's why I hope he gets whoever he wants, offensive coordinator, whatever, defensive coordinator. If you want to promote your buddies, do it, dude. Win or lose with your guys.
Always. And that was my biggest fault with Gus at times, is it felt like he would more or less kind of acquiesce to the needs of other people around the program as opposed to going with his gut. Harsin, I think, to be honest, he compromised on some of the people that he wanted to bring on staff initially. This whole offseason, has been about tying that together and putting the people that he wants in position in place. And I do think behind the scenes, they have come more together. They're more aligned in Harsin's vision. They're speaking more his language throughout the building. I honestly believe it's going to be a more cohesive unit moving forward. Once they get this OC nailed down and they figure out how they're going to do that, whether it's going to be promoting Eric Keesaw and bringing in a quarterbacks coach, whether it's going to be Keesaw moving over to quarterbacks coach and bringing in a receivers coach, however he plans to handle that. And I tend to believe it's going to be a quarterbacks coach coming in. I think that's what's going to happen, because I think he thinks that's the missing link. And Cole touched on that in that great piece that he put up today. But quarterback development is the biggest step that we need to take on this team right now, because quarterback play probably costs us 2 to 3 games this year.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about offensive line play being the biggest issue. Well, look at Joe Burrow right now going to the Super Bowl. They don't have good pass protection at all. He gets sacked 10 times a game, and it doesn't matter.
No,
he's a really good quarterback, and he can overcome that. How about Bryce Young? Their offensive line's pass protection at Alabama, supposed to be top notch, by the way, because of all the 5 stars they have, wasn't.
Average at best.
It plain wasn't, and they struggled against Auburn. But Bryce Young is the kind of quarterback that finds a way out of that, you know. So that's, to me, and I'm looking at Auburn from last year. I've got all the film breakdowns to show you exactly what's going on. I think it was quarterback play.
Yeah,
quarterback play was the biggest problem to me. And I'll touch on this with the offensive line. You've got actually, if we're worried about 2023, right, and the offensive line that's going to be in the 2023 season, you actually have 2 portal cycles before you get there.
Right.
You have this one, all your seniors are gone, and then guess what? You've got playing time to sell after that. So maybe grab 1 or 2 quality guys this time, and then you go, okay, well, we got spots here. You know, you still got to earn it, but you have spots. So this is a pretty good place to come if you want to play. So you got
upgrade your depth, and then upgrade your starting line.
Yeah.
And still take probably, because, and this is what Wilfred has done, is he has developed some really, really good relationships with 2023 offensive linemen.
Yes.
In that recruiting class, and quality offensive linemen. I know that the staff, I think the number that was regurgitated to me was 4 to 6. I think my point of contact actually felt better that it was going to be 5 or 6 was probably what they
high school guys.
High school guys. And I think they feel comfortable right now with 2 or 3 besides the commitment that they have, that they're on verge of landing. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they think it's going to happen tomorrow or anything, but they think, okay, we're out in front of this and we've got a really good relationship with this kid. If we continue to push and grind the way we are in this recruitment, they're going to be in the class sooner rather than later.
Clay Whedon, we talked to several guys, say what you want about the junior day, but there were some top offensive line guys there.
There were.
Cole talked to several. I had several myself. Hell, don't count Auburn out for Bo Hughley either.
By the way, I got 2 more coming, 2 more offensive linemen that attended junior day. I got 2 more stories coming on that.
Clay Whedon is an Auburn type of guy. I mean, hell, me and him sit there and talk about hunting for a little bit.
There you go.
He's an Auburn type. He's coming up from Florida, but everybody's going to be after him. Bo Hughley was there. The kid from Anniston, McElberry. Yeah, whatever, dude. You're asking the wrong person.
From Thompson was there.
Yeah, there you go. Stanton.
Kobe
Keenan. There was some damn names there when it comes to the offensive line. There was a lot of people that weren't there, but there was a lot of people that were there too.
And here's the thing about junior day, and I want to get Cole's take on all this. It wasn't the quality of the prospect. I felt like everybody that was at that junior day was a quality Power 5 prospect that was probably high on Auburn's board. I think it was the lack probably of in-state talent, the quantity, not the quality, but the quantity. But as you guys have both said, they're so big on relationships, they don't want massive numbers there. Now, maybe what you should have done is had 2 smaller junior days so that you could have gotten some of those other guys on campus at some point. But that's looking back in hindsight. I'm excited about the kids that were there on campus for this past junior day. And I'm looking forward to them continuing the relationships with those kids and some of those other in-state kids that couldn't be there, like the kids who who's the defensive lineman, Hunter Osborne from Hewitt Trustful, who I know has a really good relationship with Jimmy Brumbaugh. He was recruiting him out of Oregon. And several other prospects. The kid out of from Highland Home. I'm trying to think of his name.
Keldrick.
Yeah. Big time edge prospect. I mean, those are Auburn type kids that I think we're going to continue to work on that unfortunately couldn't make it for this past junior day. But Cole, what was your take on it? I mean, how did you feel about junior day?
Well, let me say this. You know, you all might have realized that Auburn just made a bunch of personnel hires. And saw that the Twitter page for Auburn just released all those. So you had a couple of guys like Ryan Smith and Ryan Trishell who were spearheading a lot of these coordinating and organization things, and they weren't with the program for the last couple of weeks. So they didn't have anybody.
They're short-handed.
At the same time, you got those guys who were supposed to be back in the office coordinating things. They weren't there, and you didn't have anybody to help with that, supposedly. And you got coaches on the road trying to recruit. So they canceled the first one because they knew it wasn't going to be a big deal.
Right.
Well, you didn't have a defensive line coach. You didn't have there was a couple of guys.
Coach, right.
Yes.
And what I'm saying right now is going to resonate with people and go, yeah, man, but you can't have excuses. Well, I'm just going to tell you, another program is going to be having coaching issues in a few weeks, and you'll have a chance to take advantage of that. That's the way it's going right now. It's happening everywhere. It's not just Auburn. It's happening everywhere. You know?
And you're going to see it right now for sure, because now that National Signing Day is in the books, the pro season is pretty much over. There's going to be a massive amount of movement because contracts are structured that way to hold a lot of coaches in place until after signing day. I mean, I think we saw it a couple of years ago with Damian Craig, where he, was back on campus for like a week and then was gone to LSU, right after he got several kids in the fold. So expect it, but you're right, Cole. I mean, it's a cyclical thing, and hopefully it's coming to an end for Auburn, because I think that's what's needed right now more than anything. Mitigating the amount of kids the attrition that's leaving our actual team into the portal, stabilizing the coaching staff so we have the perception, regardless, of how Harsin sees the program, but the perception that other people can't negatively recruit you, about having your offensive coordinator in place, and then starting to put your evaluations on the board for 2023 as well as the current transfer cycle. I mean, I think that's kind of what we really need right now.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving on, you're going to get spring practice March 5th. I think the quicker Auburn can get something going, like this has been a news cycle that Auburn needs to get behind, get it behind them, right? I mean, even the Austin Davis stuff, I mean, it's not like stuff for me to even talk about here. It's not like Auburn can go, hey man, that wasn't us.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, they gotta be PC. And in the meantime, other callers are going, man, this is his third offensive coordinator in less than a year. I mean, and there's really nothing you can do there. The best thing I think for Auburn is to get this signing day behind them, get to spring practice March 15th as quickly as possible, get some positive headlines out there.
Yes.
And hope Bruce Pearl and company continue to wax ass.
Yeah.
I agree.
Let me add this real quick too to what he asked about junior day. Every single guy that I've talked to tells me they want to come back for a spring practice.
Good.
And the reason for that is because the Auburn coaches kept saying, hey, come to spring practice. Everything, you won't have any questions after that. You're going to see how we do things. I love, as a former coach, I love that, because I wanted to see people to see how I coach. To me, that was a great selling point. This is how I'm going to do it at practice. So the fact that all the kids are wanting to come back to spring practice and see how that goes is a really good sign, I think.
I thought everything was positive out of that junior day. I'm curious to see what happens next with some of these guys who didn't come. Will they get here for a spring practice? How will their recruitment turn out? Jimmy Brumbaugh, I thought, like J-Head said earlier, he's got some prior relationships with some of these kids. See what the OC happens. See what happens with the OC. And I talked about this to Wednesday in the war room, but as far as the portal goes right now, it's very limited selection in the portal right now. We're expecting to see another big wave come I guess after spring. But I will say this to all the subscribers on the corner this morning asked me about any guys right now on the board for sure. We talked earlier about Noah Steen.
Tyler
Steen.
Shit, man. And what's his brother's name?
Noah.
Okay,
Noah.
all right. See, I told you. That's what I said.
There you go. There you
go. Hunter Nauerzad. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's the best I can do. And I tell you what, I mentioned this on the corner Tuesday night. Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan for Minnesota is at least something to keep an eye on. I think J-Head and I had some private conversations about that, but it's at least something to keep an eye on. I don't know what will come of it, if anything, but it's something to keep an eye on. Another school to keep an eye on is Arizona State. I know Arizona State's going through some things right now, probably going to have a mass exodus there.
There you go.
Yeah, you like that, didn't you?
I did, man.
And some guys from the Pacific Northwest too that could be coming back south. Auburn will be, and I mean, this is the transfer portal every day. Somebody else is coming in and going out, right? So it's going to be very fluid. But I know that those are at least a couple of things to keep an eye on, and of course that board's going to grow a lot before May. And as far as positions goes, J-Head, we talked about the offense line, and I mean, it'd be nice to build some depth, right? Obviously, it's a priority because Auburn's got 2 guys on the board already and have been recruiting that position. But what else? Where do you see those 10 spots going?
So probably, I think 2 to the offensive line is the way I'm looking at it right now. 1 to 2 at the edge. I'm inclined to say 2 right now, even though the outside linebacker from last year is sliding out there, Cam Riley, kind of provided some depth for spring. We still only have 4 bodies there. I think you want to be at 6 because you got the 2 different positions, the stud and the rush. So you'd like to be 3 deep at both. So I think 1 to 2 there. Probably a running back, definitely 2 wide receivers, 1 to 2 DL because you kind of ate into your depth to a degree. I think you're still pretty much 3 deep at every spot. But from that defensive end, nose tackle, and then that swing position, they can play the 5, they can play the 4-eye, they can play the 2. They move all around as far as that's concerned because that's how you vary from that 3-man front to 4-man front sometimes. So they kind of move. They use that as a swing position, but I think they're probably going to pluck 1 or 2 guys there. I don't think they anticipated in the beginning when all this started on losing Lee Hunter and or Marquise Robinson. I think they were kind of banking on those guys sticking and ruling in the next year. But it is what it is now. But that's kind of how I see it shaking out from a positional standpoint as far as how we're going to attack it. And then I think Cole had introduced a defensive back from Hawaii to the board. I don't think they're going to pass on a guy like that. When there's a playmaker out there, an impact player that upgrades the talent on your roster significantly, I think they're going to get in the mix on that kind of guy. It doesn't matter what position he plays. I mean, if it's an impact player, you're going to get in them.
That's right.
Hey, let's try to do this again next week. Let's see where things stand.
Definitely. Let me get you guys to say real quick before we get off. What do you think about the capability of the defensive staff from a recruiting standpoint now versus where we had it before? Because I've got my thoughts. I'm interested to see how you guys see it now. Particularly Jeff Schmedding going from a featured recruiter position at the linebacker position to more of a collaborative recruiter as a defensive coordinator.
I think it will be an upgrade. I think it's an upgrade. I think you even Christian Robinson, in my opinion, I don't know Jeff Schmedding. I've met him one time, dude. All I can tell you is that dude is nothing but ball.
Right.
And I told Owen, this is a true story here. Owen Papo I guess right after these guys had gotten in, Owen had gotten to know Jeff Schmedding, and I'm sitting out there talking to him. He goes, dude, this guy he is crazy about ball. I mean, he is all ball. He's going to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's looking at everything, man. And the one time that I met him was inside the complex, and we're talking, and he's asking Cuz that's walking by, you got those clips cut up for me? All right, let's go. I mean, that's all he was. So I think when it comes to X's and O's, absolutely, I like Jeff Schmedding. I think he's going to be great. Now, as recruiting, I don't know how personable he could be. I haven't been around him enough. He wasn't that personal to me, but he probably hates reporters. But Christian Robinson, just from his reputation alone, I think was an upgrade at the spot. If that's what you were getting to, J-Head,
Yeah,
I think he's an upgrade, man.
I think he's an upgrade. And Cole, I want to get your thoughts before I get too much in this. And I think the difference between Nick Easton and Jimmy Brumbaugh is Brumbaugh has pre-established relationships with a lot of prospects already in this area. Nick Easton was building from scratch coming from the NFL. So I think where this staff is starting from right now, even though it's had a lot of changes, is in a much better spot than it was this time last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on Jeff Schmedding, just from things that I've heard from recruits, from people that I talked to close to the program, they thought that the fact that he was such a football mind, football person, hurt him in recruiting on a personal level.
Yeah.
Just because he wanted to talk football with guys, and that's not always what gets them, right?
Right.
So moving him to the defensive coordinator.
He don't give a shit who the girlfriend is or what your mama cooked you for supper last night.
No, he's not into all that, man. Which, look, I mean, I can't say I blame him, to be honest. But hey,
I hear you.
He is defensive coordinator now. I think that helps him personally, just because now he gets to sell his vision when he joins the recruiting.
Yes.
In a recruitment, he's selling his vision on the defense. I think it was hard for him not to do that in the first place when he wasn't defensive coordinator, just because that's just his style, But you replace him with a guy that's a young up and comer, has a really good reputation as a recruiter early in his career.
Yes.
At the linebacker spot. There's so many talented linebacker prospects around this part of the country. I think that's just going to be a good marriage for Robinson and Auburn. Here's my thing too. The same thing with Brumbaugh. I feel the same way about the Auburn connections and the connections around the state and things like that. Zach Etheridge, I think, is going to have a little bit of a bigger role.
Definitely
next offseason. I don't know if he's maybe taking a new role or if he's just, spearheading more recruitments or whatever the deal is.
He's a defensive recruiting coordinator.
Okay, well, there you go. So I think that helps a lot, because if you look at the last cycle, that dude put in some work,
Oh, yeah.
He was the best recruiter on staff by the end. I mean, he was the hammer. He was the closer. And I know Trevon, Trevon did a fantastic job filling in for various guys. I mean, at one point, Trevon was the defensive line coach. He was the quarterback's coach. He was, Trevon was filling in for basically everybody on staff. And he got put into a litany of different positions. But I thought Zach was the guy that was, when we had a top-tier prospect, Zach was in on him, and he was the one that was doing the relationship building.
Now,
and I
you
think
talk about personal.
The more you can involve him in various recruitments on the defensive side of the ball, the better off you're going to be. But I love what you just said about Schmedding being positioned as the defensive coordinator and being a collaborative recruiter and selling the vision of the defense. I think he's going to be tailor-made for that. And then you have relationship builders at your three different levels with Zach, who obviously has proven he can do it here at Auburn. Christian Robinson, who's a fantastic relationship builder and recruiter at Florida. I feel even more comfortable with him coming to Auburn and being able to get into that front doorstep of those Metro Atlanta guys, because I think he's going to be a huge link there for us in a place where we've struggled to a degree these last few years. And then Jimmy Brumbaugh, who's recruited the state of Alabama. He's recruited South Georgia. And in that area of Jacksonville to Orlando to the Panhandle in Florida. I mean, he's got connections in each three of those spots. So I feel like the way they've organized and the way they'll attack recruiting from a defensive standpoint, they're going to be a better staff. Now, offensively, they haven't made many changes, and we'll see what it looks like when the OC comes in. But defensively, I actually like, even though it hurt losing Derek Mason, I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't.
Right.
But I think organizationally speaking, it's going to be more efficient on the defensive side of the ball moving forward.
And by the way, I've talked to two recruits now. One of them off the record, he was just like, man, that move was great because that dude, he knows what he's talking about. I was like, okay, cool. And then another one, I put up a story on a linebacker target that said, man, Schmedding, the defensive coordinator, actually makes Auburn more attractive to me.
Is that Lewis Carter?
It was Troy Ford.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Big time.
I like him. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. And he said, man, that helps Auburn. I love that guy. So I was like, cool. It's not exactly what I was expecting to hear, but hey, that's good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Right. Good stuff, folks. That's why we brought them on here. Hey, let's do it again next week. Sound good?
Sounds good, man.
I think we're going to have some stuff coming. With this transfer portal, it's not going to end and then pick back up. We are in a dead period, so there won't be any visits, but there'll be offers made, and there'll be visits being set up. So a lot of things to keep an eye on. Guys entering the portal. So let's do it again next week. And but before I go, I want to say, give a couple of how about yous, man. It's been a couple of weeks. J-Head, the last time you and me were on here was our last show. We've had some organizational issues that we've been able to work out in the past week. So everything should be good from now on. Let me get a how about you to I'll be 12. Now, this guy, dude, he's hit some home runs here lately. Okay, I'll be 12 on the corner. So who was it that went to Liberty?
Oh, that was
Butler.
Yeah, DeAndre Butler, right?
Dre Butler. So Dre Butler transfers to Liberty. I'll be 12. Well, at least we didn't give him death. It was funny at the time, dude. I had been up a couple of days, man. What?
That's funnier to me now that I'm a dad.
There you go.
The dad jokes, dude. Couple more how about you, man. Diesel 93, Clint G, Obliterati, JP 27, Denim Vest likes to cuss, WDE alum 2001 loves to cuss, Kaz for Auburn. He likes to cuss high or drunk. I'm okay with that. Hey, and then Tyler Justice, man, this guy, he held the line better than anybody back when the Caleb Williams stuff was going on. That was a lot of fun. Big how about you to Tyler Justice, and also to the dude. All great posters, man. We've got the corner, and if you're not a member of Auburn Live, you should be. $5 a month right now for a special, $50 for the year. You can't beat it. It's like a cute dog. So with that being said, hey guys, I appreciate y'all joining me, and let's do it again next week. For Cole, J-Head, I'm Jeffrey Lee. Stay out of the left lane. How about you?